Hello and welcome back to Garry's Garage. In this episode I will hopefully finally get a working handbrake. In the last episode I thought it would be a nice simple job to fix my handbrake, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. When pulling it apart, one of the things that I found was not attached anymore was this anchor block. Now when this was fitted to the Anglia by myself and my dad, we made a small modification. This is the original that came from the 200SX. So this long shank here originally went through the rear hub unit and was bolted on nicely at the back. We chopped that bit off. So I think what's happened is the stresses of the handbrake over time has caused this to try to flex. The small 6mm bolt that we put in to hold it wasn't beefy enough and it managed to work its way loose, and that's probably been flexing around and what's been causing the poor handbrake. So I need to try to fit this and make as few modifications to this as possible. Luckily, the size of this just so happens to be just about the right size for this bit of nice big thick wall tube, which is what I'm using for all the rest of the suspension components. So with a combination of these two, I think that we can modify the rear hubs and get a working decent handbrake. So first thing to do is pull the hubs off the car, so disconnect them from all the suspension arms and get it on the bench and start chopping it. So here we have the hub unit on the bench, and the backing plate for the brakes goes on there, and then the hub, the bearing unit, will sit on there, something like that. So they are usually secured in with these bolts from the opposite side. And so the thing that we need to look at now is up the top here. I've straightened out this back plate a little bit, so it's slightly less bumpy than it was last time. And this here is the original block that I had fitted to the car, which sat in that little hole there with this bolt secured in from the back. So what I need to do now is drill out, I think, a hole there and then weld to the back of it a bit of this tubular section for that to sit in quite nicely there. So I need to try to drill a hole through there that's the right diameter for that, which is going to be made a little bit difficult because I've already got a hole in there that's not quite centered. Okay, so I've now got that marked up, so I can take it all off again and think about drilling it. would have been a lot easier if I had a die grinder, something to add to the list of parts to get hold of. But the anchor block is now in, it's bolted in place, and that's pretty rigid in there. So the next thing to do will be to weld the tube onto the bucket, tack it to start with, then I can take the rest of this off and finish welding it up fully. So let's bust out the TIG welder again and get welding. Okay, that's all welded up. So we have now a nice tube through there, the face is all nicely welded up as well. So let's reassemble. There we go, all tight and on. I don't think that is going to be going anywhere now. So just need to repeat that on the other side. There we go, two identical hubs. So now I have two modified and freshly repainted hub units, and they are ready to go back on the car. So let's do that now. I now need to put the handbrake cable in through the backing plate. Okay, so here is a rough approximation of how the handbrake shoe mechanism sits on the car. Now here we have a lever, and that is attached to the handbrake cable. These two pins hold it onto the backing plate. Up here is where the anchor block is located, and these two springs hold the top of the two shoes together. Down at the bottom here is the adjuster, and that takes up the gap at the bottom to pre-engage the shoes in the right place, so that when you pull the lever up, the shoes have got the minimal travel possible to engage. So what we need to do is transpose this on the floor to the brake itself. that that should sit further back. I really hope that these anchor blocks are the correct ones. Let me have a look. Okay, so that is the handbrake mechanism where it should be. However, there is one problem, and that is up here at the top on this anchor block. If I can get it to focus. And that is that the handbrake isn't actually sitting in the right place. So these bits of the shoe here should be sitting back here on this part of the block. Now, the eagle-eyed among you will have noticed something that I didn't when you were looking at earlier footage, and that is that these new anchor blocks are not the same as the ones I took off, but are actually about 5 or 6 millimeters thicker. So I'm going to have to take this off again and make some modifications in order to bring these out another 6 millimeters or so to make them fit. So let's go and have a look at the one that's on the bench. So first off is to remove the anchor block from the hub unit. So here we have side by side the old and the new, and you can quite clearly see that there's quite a difference there. So that's about 5 or 6 millimeters. So I need to try to space this one out to be the same overall distance, so that those handbrakes will sit on there just where they should do. So I've got here a piece of steel plate which is 6 millimeter, and that should be just about the right height. So if I put that together and that on the bench and take a look at them, short of actually measuring them exactly, they are pretty much bang on. And I know they're close because I've measured them on camera. So I think the thing to do is to drill a hole for this to go through, then cut it out to roughly the same shape as this to make a spacer, and then we'll just need to trim down the tube we've put onto the buckets for this to fit. That's a nice tight fit. Okay, so I've just been grinding that way, and behind me I heard a massive great big bang. So we have down here a nice chunk of wood and some more bits there which have fallen from that shelf up there, that top one, and that landed on the car. So if you can see there, a couple of nice big dents. So one just there and another just there. So that's yet another thing that's going to need to be sorted out in the future. And I'm now out of grinding discs for the grinder, and with lockdown still underway in the UK, it's going to be difficult to go out and get some. So that is all the time I've got, or all I can do today. So please join me next time on Garry's Garage, where I shall try to get some grinding discs delivered, and I shall finish up sorting out those brakes. Thanks for watching. Bye.